Hello.
Hello. This is the correct meeting. Wonderful. Because this is the meeting that I set up, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And it appears there are others. And Ella, I believe, has her own, will need to present. So that can happen, yes?
Uh, it should be. Yes, there are other people on the line. Love it. Okay. Um, Ella, Ella, did I not make you a presenter? Oh. Oh, allowed to talk. Hold on. Hold on. Promote to panelist. Here we go.
Uh,
There we
There we
go.
go. Yeah,
okay.
we got you.
Okay, awesome. So let me see if I can share this and it works. So let's see. I need to, let's do this. Present to you, present. Okay, this is just for you. So drag this here. Got it. 1 second. So that's mine. And this is full mode. Okay, now let me see how can I share my screen?
You should be able to. You should be a panelist, and you should be able to. Can you not?
I don't see, I see chat, raise hand, Q&A, or show captions. Oh, here we go, join as panelist.
There we go.
Okay, and now I can share my screen. Okay, so this guy here. Oops. Let's,
Yay.
okay, let me get back to the, hold on, let me stop share, get it to the right location. This one, right here. Okay, now let's try again. Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Kayleen, did you want to say anything ahead of time or?
Oh, not so much other than just welcoming everybody here. We're glad you're here. And we're excited to show you one of ours from Portland. And yeah, when we're ready to get going, Abby, you might have other housekeeping things.
Just to let everyone know, this is being recorded. Um, in case anybody that you know of is unfortunately missing this presentation, we will probably have a link as well.
Perfect. Oh,
But yeah,
also, if folks have questions for Ella, there will be time at the end that she can address a handful. So feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll go through those toward the end.
Do you want me to turn my camera on, Eileen?
I would love to see you. Are we able to do that?
Let's see.
I think we'd all like to
Okay.
see you.
Video. I think so. You cannot start your video because host has stopped.
Mm, I am seriously regretting setting this up as a webinar. Oh, most loud, loud. I'm gonna make you a host.
Oh, okay.
You're just climbing up the social ladder here, Ella.
Wow.
You're an attendee, then you're a panelist, and now you're a host. Maybe
No
that will work.
pressure. Okay, let's see if I can do this now. Oh, okay. I can.
There we go.
A little break
Sitting,
here.
well, that's right where you should be in the daylight, right?
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Cool. Okay. Here we go.
Great. Yeah, let's get going. Thank you so much for being here.
Cool. Okay. So we're starting. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name, Kelly, are you done with all your housekeeping and
Yep, you're good. Go for it.
okay. Well, hello everyone. My name is Ellen Mills. I am a founder and the owner of Viola Lighting Design, which is a lighting design consulting firm in Portland, Oregon. I would like to know if you can put some comments in the Q&A or chat. I'd be curious to know who we have today in the audience, if how many designers versus sales folks versus factory or other roles in the lighting industry. That would be wonderful. But what I would like to talk today about is my journey as a female professional and a business owner. I have included a few projects that I will quickly go over. So if there's some questions later on about the project specifically, we can maybe talk about it at the end of the presentation. But my focus today is more on my journey as a professional and balancing my career and family with the business and the requirements of the business. Okay, let's see if I can make this thing work. Okay, hold on. Yay, cool. So a little bit about me. I was born in Far Eastern Russia, and my family moved to Israel in the early 90s. I have moved to Portland in 1998 with what I call circumstances. And so just curious if anybody has any ideas or thoughts on what is the connection here between these two. There's Ashkelon and Khabarovsk. In case some of you may not be familiar with this, there is the signpost in Pioneer Square in Portland, Oregon, that has a bunch of different destinations with the distance from that location in Pioneer Place and location of that destination. Any ideas? Killing, do you see anybody posting anything? Or do I need to look in the chat to see?
Oh yeah, we can look for you. I don't think any of us even knew those words were on there.
Okay, well, I guess you learned something today. So fun fact, so I was born in Khabarovsk in Russia, and both Khabarovsk and Ashkelon, which is the city where I lived in Israel, apparently are sister cities with Portland, Oregon. So the way I see it, it was meant for me to be here in Portland. So the school I went in Russia actually had a student exchange program with Lincoln High School here in Portland. So I knew of Portland way before I arrived here. And so yeah, it just kind of coincidental they ended up being here. But before I left Israel, I started college there in Holon after high school, or after high school, studying interior industrial design program. So when I moved to Portland, the only program that was offering industrial design, I could not afford to go there. So I ended up switching to interior design and continuing with this. So originally, when I moved to Portland, I had this big dreams of marrying, what I thought was the love of my life, and which didn't quite work out. So instead, I ended up here by myself. He moved back to Israel and on from there. And since I dropped out of college once to follow him over here, I decided that I'm gonna stay, finish my education, and we'll see what happens. So minimize this. So this is where I started, and this is me today. So I am married. I've been married for over 20 years. I have 2 kids, ages 10 and 14 today. Like a lot of design professionals, I kind of got into the design, lighting design, sort of by accident. As I mentioned, I was studying interior design, and one of our professors invited various professionals to come and do guest lectures, which is how I met Jim Benny. I attended one of the lectures that he offered back a long time ago. So at the time, I was still here with my boyfriend, and he was planning on going back to Israel and looking for different project opportunities there. So I actually ended up talking to Jim, who referred me to one of his lighting designer friends from Israel. And I ended up meeting with that person when I went back over the summer, and he strongly discouraged me from going into lighting profession, at least in Israel. And so when things didn't quite work out and I ended up here again in the fall, going back to school, I reached out to Jim to see if he had any internship opportunities. And the rest, let me say, is history. So I ended up interning at Jim Benya's office while I was going to school. And then when I finished college, I started working there full time. So so I worked full time after college, doing architectural lighting design at the company that Jim had here in Portland. And after working there for a few years, Jim ended up selling the company to an engineering firm, which was not quite the best fit for me. So I decided to pursue some other opportunities and ended up doing spec sales here for one of the local sales rep agencies, focusing on architectural and design communities spec sales. But I'm not really great at sales. So, and I really miss design. So one day I had a lunch with somebody, and the opportunity came up to kind of maybe look at starting my own business. And so I thought that sounded like a great idea, and decided to go forward with pursuing that. So any thoughts on what all these images on here have to do with, I guess, me or this presentation?
I'm guessing this must be 2006, somewhere in there when all this happened.
Close, 2008. So that was the year when Sex and the City, the movie, hit the big screen. Tesla introduced the first publicly, mass-produced electric car. Barack Obama was elected president. Lehman Brothers failed right around the time that I gave my notice. So at the end of 2008, when market went into free fall and economy started going rapidly downhill, I decided to start my own business. So the timing was impeccable. So Biala Lighting Design officially went into business in September of 2008. This whole original idea of doing business, starting my own business, was sort of based on the conversation I had with one of my former colleagues that, he was they were gonna bring jobs in, and I was gonna help them kind of do it. So it sounded like a great idea. I didn't need to worry about getting any work. I just could focus on doing the design, which is something that I really enjoyed and really loved. And we had this, well, I had this great idea how it's going to be so wonderful. We're going to have so much flexibility and everything was going to be awesome. So it didn't quite end up working out like this. So here was towards the end of 2008 with economy in free fall. My original business plan failed. I had a big stack of business cards, no business, no clients, no projects, and a lot of time on my hands. And so not really knowing much about how to run the business and how to get work. So I did have some design experience. And so I figured out I really needed to learn all of these things really fast. So I needed a new business plan. I needed to figure out how to get clients, how to run projects, how to budget projects, how to put fee proposals together, what to do about all the taxes and payment structure and licenses, insurance, all of these things that you need to know about when you have your own business. So here was on the left with my office all set up. I had this huge shelf full of catalogs, very nicely alphabetized and color-coded and all this stuff. So yeah, I just had to figure out how to, make it work, and needed to be a quick learner. So I started calling all my prior contacts from the design and the sales clients. And it was pretty tough because everybody at the end of 2008 and early 2009, everybody I met with, was on the verge of tears almost, saying that, we had to lay off another, 5 people or another 10 people, another 20 people, another, it was really, not great in the industry at that time. So, but the good thing about starting the business when you can not really go any further down is that the only way to go is up. So I was very fortunate, and I ended up getting some of my first projects at the end of 2008. And so things slowly started, improving from there. So when I got pregnant with my first child, which was sometime in 2009, I think, I was absolutely horrified because I thought that that was it for me, as a business, because, who is going to want to hire somebody with a newborn and, small company with a child that basically, I don't know. My perception was that people wouldn't want anything to do with me because I was not going to be able to take care of both the family needs and my work needs. So I think, in a way, I was really fortunate that when I started, things weren't super busy and crazy. So I did have some time to take it a little bit slower, and I had the time to both do the work, because there wasn't a ton of it at the time, and also spend some time with my child and family and kind of ease my way into it. So for the first couple of years, as I was learning more about business, about billing, about structuring the fees, about doing the work and balancing all these other things, I really probably maxed out my 401k, but didn't have much more, since then. So thankfully, my family was in a situation there where my husband was able to make enough money to put food on the table and provide our healthcare expenses coverage. And so, it kind of worked out okay. But as things started to ramp up, and we started to get busier, I started getting more work, and business was demanding more of my attention. So really, like, I could not have done that without having the support of my husband, who was willing and able to kind of let me follow my dreams, but also take a whole lot more of the responsibilities at home. So when I got pregnant the second time around, I remember I had some bigger projects going on, and I had this embassy work. I was just crying, going like, oh my gosh. My first thought that came to mind when I found out that I was pregnant was like, how am I gonna do it all? And so it was, really important because it really does take a village to run a business. It was really important to have a really good network system. So my husband was super supportive and immensely important for me to have the opportunity to do the work that I needed to do and take the time that I needed to take to do that work. But some of the other people that were really important are, reps and colleagues and clients and friends. I think having a relationship with, like, good relationship with electrical contractors, like all of that, really helped, at least for me, to be successful and be able to kind of grow and succeed and implement a lot of the things that we were able to achieve. So it took me about 5 years to ramp up, and I think between the improving economy, gaining more experience, and having enough time for the word of mouth to spread, like, we really started to improve. I originally relied a lot on my lighting reps to both kind of educate me on definitely the products, but also bouncing some ideas because working by myself, I really was craving that kind of interaction and collaboration, and because I didn't have any colleagues at the time to do that with, like, they kind of were able to step in and fulfill that role for me. So I'm super thankful. But also, like, it's really important to have good support on the business side as well, like having a good accountant and banking person, insurance folks, all of that. Like, it really, really matters and makes a huge difference. So as we did start to grow, or as Biola started to grow, I had originally some part-time people that I was able to bring on and work with, but it was a huge step for me to kind of take the leap and to hire my first full-time employee. And so it was scary, but I'm very lucky to have brought my former coworker, a colleague, some of you may know Mike, but I think that was like one of the smartest things I've done, probably. And also lucky is because he was really amazing and helped Biola to kind of become, I think, to some degree, what it is today. So things weren't always perfect, or went as I wanted, but I'm proud of the results. That's where we are. So I'm gonna skip through this really quickly, but like just kind of give some of the examples of the work that we've done. But from the very early on, when I started Biola, I really wanted to make sure that I don't end up in the same rut and kind of feeling that I was in before I left the design, where it felt like we were working on the same project types, and at some point I almost felt like I was like rubber stamping the design solutions versus looking at doing some more creative things. So it was really important for me to diversify and work on different project types and scales so that it always felt interesting and exciting and inspiring. So here are some of the projects that we've done. Those are some of the earlier ones. This is some of the residential work with an architect that we've done a number of residences before. This is some of the hospitality work that we've done. It was exciting and interesting. And this was one of the later projects that we just completed a couple of years ago. That was one of our biggest projects that we did as a collaboration with another designer. So it's been really fun and rewarding, and very stressful at times, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. So some of the really great things about owning your own business. So the flexibility, it's not always there, but at the same time, I have been very lucky and take it for granted that I am able to do a lot of the things, even if it means that sometimes I have to stay, later and finish the work. I have to get up at 5 a.m. and get things done, but I am able to, take off and go take my kids to sports, or like the picture in the middle. The large one was that a couple of years ago, somehow things stacked up where I was actually able to take 5 weeks off, and we went and spent 5 weeks in southern France and traveled, and I worked a little bit in the evenings, but I was able to take the time away and spend the summer with my family and my kids, kind of traveling and exploring new things. There is always tons of opportunities to learn new things all the time. Even when you think that you already know, something else happens, and it's like, oh, well, that's another great learning opportunities. So, and I really enjoy that. It is nice to be able to chart your own path and kind of decide, where you want to go and how you want to get there, and types of projects maybe that we do want to engage with or we don't. So it's really nice to have that flexibility. I have been very lucky and super grateful to have had some really amazing clients. Some of the people that we've worked with, I've known them since before I started Biella, so it's been going on over 20 years. And most of the people that we work with, I really, really enjoy. I will never forget that a few years ago when my dad got really sick and ended up in the hospital, I had one of my clients, we had a deadline, and she just said, like, don't worry about it, go take your time. We'll skip this one, we'll put your old documents in or whatever, and you can just take care of it in the end. And I'm just so, so grateful, because that allowed me to take that last week that I was able to spend with my dad at the hospital before he passed away, without really worrying about work. And it just really makes a difference that, not only my family, my colleagues or my friends, but also like working with amazing clients that are willing and able to support you. It just meant a lot to me, and I will never forget that. Sorry. So I also really love that every day is different. And like for me personally, I could just not imagine coming to the work that you have to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I think we are fortunate in the design field, and at least in what we do, that we get to play with and explore and learn different things and work on different things and different project types. And it just keeps it interesting and makes me want to come to work and continue doing that. And lastly, we do get to work on some really fun projects sometimes. So here's a few that I've included. That was a Coca-Cola project that we did in Dismal Springs in Orlando. This was one of the really small projects that we did, but I really enjoyed working on it, and I think it turned out pretty awesome. That is a pedestrian bridge in Lewis Park, and this was one of the earlier projects, but I included it. It's with one of the architects that I really enjoy working with, and it was a project for water facilities here, and so everything was really focused on the water concepts, and so all the kind of design elements and lighting, fixture selections, everything had all to do with water and pipes and things like that. So it was a lot of fun. So there's also some things that I don't really enjoy working on or owning my own business. So some of them are like really knowing when to say no, and actually being able to say no, because sometimes, I mean, it's hard to say no to clients, and so I don't like doing that. So one of the other challenges that I've had, at least personally, is getting project photography. So if somebody has some tips on how to do that better and in a more timely fashion, so that we can get it when the architects are getting projects, I would love to hear some feedback. So the upside of the flexibility is a lot of times there are crazy deadlines. So even though there is some flexibility, but a lot of times you really end up working a lot, and it's not as flexible as I would love it to be. I am still dreading putting together fees every time, because it's kind of like the Goldilocks story. It's really hard to know what's not too much or too little, and just enough, not only from a standpoint of like for us to do the work, but also enough to where the client doesn't think it's too much or too little, or our client's client. So that's definitely not my favorite thing to do. I do feel like I'm always short on time. So I've included this lovely Sweet 16 here as an example. This was supposed to be last year's mailer that we were going to send out for our 15th year anniversary. And so we were really busy with work and deadlines and various things. So it kept getting pushed back and back and back. So we started back in January going like, we're going to send it as a Sweet 16 Valentine's Day. And so we're still working on it, but it's on the list to do. So we will have it done in November. So, and then last but not least is the hassle of hiring people. And it's really, bringing the right people on board is really important and critical for every business. But I think it's even more important in a small business where you don't have, like, you work with a very closely knit group of people, and it really has to be the right fit. So it also takes a lot of time investment, emotional investment, financial investment. So it's, it's very stressful, but also like absolutely important to the success of your business. As I mentioned before, like if I didn't take the leap to hire Mike Larson back in 2014, I think it was, Biella may have looked very different today. And I've learned a ton working with him. And when he left in 2021 to move back to Utah to be closer to his family, I was very excited the opportunity that he got, but it has been quite a roller coaster ride for me since he left. So I have learned a lot about myself over the last few years, trying to hire people and like working through that. yeah, so it's not been easy. However, I think it was also really important to go through that process and kind of figure out what's the right thing for me, like, or for anybody who's trying to hire. And so whether like the person that you are looking at bringing on, do they need a lot of mentoring? Or are they pretty independent? If they need mentoring, do you have the time to mentor? So like I've had a couple people that even though they had the experience on paper, it ended up that they actually needed a lot more attention and mentoring, and I just didn't have the time to spend because I had a lot of other things that I needed to do. So it was a great learning experience that, like, well, maybe that was not the best choice. Are people detail oriented, or they're more of a big picture person? If you need somebody who is focused on getting the work done, but they're not very detail oriented, then maybe that's not the right fit, or you need to like learn to delegate certain work to them, but then have somebody else doing all the details and like looking over this stuff. So basically, in the end, that if your colleagues are creating more work for you, then maybe it's not really a great fit for your business. So I included this image here, which is one of my, not last vacation, but one of my last vacations, where we went to this amazing resort, and it ended up where I spent pretty much 90% of my time reviewing, redlining, reviewing again, and redlining a project that was pretty much done. And we were sending out permit documents that basically my husband just finally told me, like, just forget it, go ahead and finish what you need to finish. And so this was my last day that I got to enjoy about 3 hours by the pool, that I pretty much came to the conclusion that if you don't have the right people, that you're better off not to hire that person at all. So sometimes I learn the hard way, and sometimes it takes a while, but eventually, it's better to come up with a right conclusion. So here are some takeaways. So new things are hard, but they can be very rewarding. There's an expression in Russian that says that person who never takes risks never gets to drink champagne. And so I just included it there because like when I started this journey, I really had no idea what I was getting into, but I wasn't sure what I was capable of. But along the way, I actually ended up finding out that I love it, and I guess I'm not that bad at it after all. And so if I never took the risk, I never would have taken out. So it does truly take a village to build something. So, reach out, ask for help. I think from my experience, people are super willing and supportive. All you need to do is ask. Hire the right people. I think I just went over that, so I don't know if there's much else to add. And then last but not least, not every day is easy. Sometimes it's really stressful, and sometimes it's a lot of work. But it's really important to love what you do, because then you really, even through difficult moments, you really enjoy coming back to it and looking forward to continuing. So, and as there's a quote from Steve Jobs, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. So with that, thank you very much for your time. And if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer anything. I hope that you learned something and it was helpful. And yeah, there we go.
Thank you. Wonderful. We do have a couple questions for you. The first one is, if you had the opportunity to mentor your 2007 self, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh. I think maybe just be a little bit more prepared, but honestly, I don't know if I'd do anything differently. I think that it was maybe what I would do different is just enjoy the moments when you have like the time to enjoy, and then when it's hard, then just like go do it, and then be comfortable taking the break again. Because I think I'm always seems like when things are slow, I start freaking out, and then when things are busy, you freak out for different reasons. So yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Let me come back to you.
Good. Next one is, do you have any tips for hiring the right people? Like, for example, is there a way to test someone out for a week?
I do have, because I've actually done that the last time I well the last time before the last time. So because I have gotten I wouldn't say burned, but I've gone through some rough kind of patches. So I had a person kind of working on the contract. And so I think, and I've had this, I mean, I think it was similar basically, but just like try to maybe give a little test to, or like a small project example. And so I did have a person working on contract, and there were a couple of things that I did that was sort of like a red flag, but I thought, well, it's a little thing, maybe that's not a big deal. And so I think just maybe having some, either do some contract work and like be really critical, not of the other person, but like of what you are trying to achieve from that and what the result that you want to get from that. So like whether, there's, if you want to see, for example, like how efficient they are, then, like figure out an exercise or an assignment that should be like somebody should be able to do within a certain amount of time. And so, and maybe like watch them through how they do it, or like talk about the process of how they've done something, or ask how long it took, or like whatever your objectives are. I guess it's different for everybody what they're trying to achieve. But also, like if there are some red flags, trust your gut, because if there's little red flags in the beginning, they tend to be a lot bigger red flags as the time goes on. Potentially. I mean, sometimes people just kind of get, grow and learn and become better, but also I've had plenty of situations where it just gets worse. So yeah, and I've talked to a number of people going through this, and I've asked like, how do you guys do it? And I think the prevailing answer from anybody is that it is hard to find the right fit and the right people. So
That makes sense. Next is, how did your thoughts around starting a business develop over your life? Was there ever a time where you thought, oh, this is not for me?
I never thought that I would have my own business. I think like growing up in Russia, entrepreneurship wasn't really something that people talked about or nurtured or grew. I always just assumed that I will be working somewhere, but at the same time, like my parents sort of instilled in us, or maybe we saw the example. Like I've always worked hard, whether it was, like I put myself through college. I had very little support, so I've studied and worked part-time while I was in college, and then I worked my butt off every summer to make enough money that I could pay for most of the next year of school. So I was never afraid of hard work, but I never thought I would do it. I guess I just like really did not like sales and thought that I had the opportunity to get into design, and I thought that, oh, my husband was working week on, week off, so it sounded like a great choice for our family at the time that I could like be my own boss and, you know, work for a week and then go travel for a week. And so, and then we ended up kind of where we are, and the rest is history. So yeah, I never thought I would have my own business, but I've had the opportunity to go work and, you know, join a company and work somewhere else. And it was really hard to give up, I think, once you kind of exposed to being able to make your own decision and chart your own path and, you know, drive your destiny by yourself. It's a little bit harder to give it up and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, try something else.
What keeps you engaged in the lighting profession? What is it that makes you love what you do?
I think my clients finally finding the right fit and coming to the office every day to smile and, you know, a cheerleader and trying to do the same in return is great. And I love the variety. I think, you know, knowing that there's a new challenge waiting and different opportunities, you know, to solve it in different ways. I think having the industry that we are, where there's so much new and exciting developments and products and being surrounded by you know, beautiful environments. And I always thrived in design. I love the aesthetics of it. I love the experience of it. I love the feel of it. I love watching like all these gorgeous spaces and beautiful pictures and trying to find various ways to, you know, come up with an interesting solution, even when it's, you know, on a tight budget or I don't know. I just love it.
How do you go about diversifying your project loads? Are you looking through proposals? Is it all word of mouth? How do you keep that balance?
Like getting projects, I think mostly, well, not mostly. I would say it's all 100% word of mouth. It's a lot of the work we're doing with the same clients that we've done a lot of work with. Some of them leave their firms and, you know, those firms and go somewhere else and recommend. But yeah, I think we've been pretty lucky to not have to do a lot of like super heavy marketing. So we do have, we are in the small business registry. So the state of Oregon has certain requirements that on all public work, you have to engage a certain amount of minority, you know, small women-owned businesses. So there's been some projects that we've had clients come where they found us at the COVID registry and they need a partner on the project. But a lot of it is just word of mouth recommendations. And I guess we're just trying to do it with work as much as possible. And, you know, hopefully that people love working with us and want to come back for more.
Mhm. Naomi wants to know, what was your favorite moment in lighting in the last 6 months?
Well, I think it's been longer than 6 months, but my favorite moment, actually, it's probably been a year or two, was when Naomi said that she was so impressed with our lighting at the courthouse that she had to go and look up who the lighting designer was. That was really touching.
Yeah, that is an amazing moment. Is there any other questions folks have for the chat? Pause a little here. Otherwise, yeah, thank you so much for your time and sharing with us your story. It's really beautiful and inspiring. And yeah, I love learning about you, and I've known you a long time. So it's wonderful. Get to know new stuff about one another. So
Thank you very much. Thank you for asking and for offering me this opportunity to talk a little bit about my journey and where we are.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Abby, did you have anything else?
Just some housekeeping things. Are you guys doing the Lighten Up event?
We are.
Here in Seattle, we do have a Wilds team that we're doing for that event. So if you're interested, please reach out to me, or we have, if you look in your email, there's a link to sign up.
I guess our Portland chapter could do a wild team if y'all are interested in that. Hadn't thought about that yet. So we'll explore that.
Thank you so much, Ella. It is great to hear from everybody in our community and get different perspectives, because I think all of the people that we've had do the Spotlight series over the last 3 years have been very different. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Well, with that, off we go to our afternoons. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye, y'all.